was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late, but I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands. People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments. She was so fast. She disappeared through the ventilator before I could stop her. And that is how you acquired a rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it. Yes. And I had read the rules on the wall. I knew there was not allowed Darka with me. Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really. So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet. I was sure if someone was there, he must be sleeping. So at that point, you thought it safe to try to lure the kitten back again? By dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator, and into the adjoining cabin. Oh. Darka always loves this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. Oh, I see. Okay. So, I guess the way I imagined this ventilator, it's kind of like a Half-Life slash the way you see in movies where people crawl through ventilators and such. But no, this is actually a wall that separates the two cabins. I mean, when you say it like that, it makes sense. But I was thinking that Darka, once she entered through the ventilator, they had to walk a little bit more until reaching the other end of the ventilator into Kazuma's cabin. The reason why I was thinking that Darka was carrying the toy with her and such, but no. I guess the way they are describing over here, it was possible for Pavlova to just dangle the toy on the other side, kind of like a window, really, like a partition or something. Yeah. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return. I guess so. It was the whistle they did. So the faint whistling sound Kazuma wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova, trying to retrieve her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened. Yes. So there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then... Oh. I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out, and then... Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. And afterwards, nothing. He was totally silent. Kazuma was... From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, it seems likely that what you heard was the victim stepping on a glass bill and tripping up. Yes, his beauty is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. Yet Mr. Asogi was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet. The combination of unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. Although, something tells me that it's more than just that. But what became of the kitten afterwards? In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator. Yet Darka is nowhere to be seen. I must have forgotten to lock my case. And now she disappeared again. Gracious, that cat is as insufferably restless as I am. He knows something about himself at least. When I woke this morning, I heard that a young man in the cabin next to mine had died. But I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back. Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake? You're right. Where is it? And more importantly, like, where the hell did that snake come from? Like, where did the Sholmes bring... Like, where did the Sholmes find that snake to begin with? If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it? Where did it come from? I don't know if it's such a dangerous creature doing on board of this ship. Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name is Piosko. Oh, I see. I guess that explains it. What? What? That snake belongs to you? He escaped from cage when the emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I didn't expect to find him in here. Yeah, how did that snake get into this cabin? Well, a part of me thinks that it has something to do with that pipe on the wall there. Like, you do remember that when the emergency happens, you hear like noise from that pipe. I don't know how to call it, but that could have been where the snake came from. But animals are not permitted on board. Ha! We are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long without close friend? Well, someone who understands? Can you find someone a little more human who understands you better? Yeah, I mean, what about the other guy? The other crewmate that is guarding the scene of the crime. My dear birdie fellow. A gargantuan venomous snake? Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting your everyone in. No venom. Pirosko does not have venom. He's harmless. Very long, but very gentle. He's adorable, like Granny. That's nice. It's venomless? Yes. Now he's hungry, so he is in a bad mood. But once I feed him, you will see him. You will see Big Smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? Ha! Like they say the milk chickens. Like they say they milk chickens. Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk are only in stupid stories. Piosko eats mouses. Heck, fat, round mouses. I guess so. Like before, you remember the mouse trap, guys. I was thinking that maybe the reason why Darkham went up the ventilator was because, again, the way I imagined the ventilator was that you go through the ventilator, you had to crawl a little bit, and then get into the next cabin. Well, mice and rats, they do enjoy their ventilators and such. So I was thinking that maybe they had like mice/rat problems, and the reason why Darka went through the ventilator in the first place was because she saw a rat or a mouse. That's what I was thinking before. But yeah, I guess you do have like an extra way of getting rid of rats and mouses and such. Such a cute little sneak over here. This sneaky sneak, Pirosko. Oh, so is that what the mouse trap in the passageway out there is for? Of course. Always gonna catch my friend's favorite food. Yeah, nothing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. He refuses to drink milk. You'll hear a whistle. You know, climb up a bell cord and it's not even venomous. How the deuce did something so inept land a staring roll? It's not my fault. I don't make up stories. My pillow score has nothing to do with this incident. So that's what happened. And that's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. Well, there's still more to it than that. Miss Pavlova. I understand the difficult situation you find yourself in, and I do sympathize. But please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you. But what are you talking about, Miss Mikotoba? What she's trying to say is that Pavlova is not being 100% honest over here. There are a few things that she's still covering up. What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. It's just a series of unfortunate events. An accident. Yeah, well, there's still the locked room mystery that we have to deal with, don't you think? I'm not a great detective, Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. But even I can see, that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't put my finger on it. I confess. I always intend to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh! I'm only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Miss Naruhodo, are simply a distraction. A distraction? Wait, what? A distraction? I do hope you have not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable. Not again. Especially as they are on your wrists as a result of my intervention. So I'm hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not? Well, yes. Cosmo was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom, even. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo. That he will do, Sholmes. That he will do. Yeah, whatever that may be. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story. I'm sure. Alright, well, I guess something tells me that we're not going to be doing any dance of deduction over here. We're gonna be doing this raw. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. I mean, after all, contradictions are gonna be Ryonosuke's bread and butter. He is gonna hone his skills on detecting contradictions. And the truth about how you really died. About how that scene in your cabin really came to be. I'll see what I can do. Excellent. Thank you, Miss Naruto. So then, shall we begin? Yes. On it. But we should ponder first. Is the victim who lost his life in a cabin that was bolted shut from the inside? Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. Well, okay. I won't lie when I say that when I thought about this possibility, I thought of it as an accident. It's just that the way things happen, it's a little bit different. Cause it's not like Kazuma just tripped and fell to his doom because of the Archon. There is definitely a half-cut glass there, meaning that there were some other stuff that happened there. There is no room for doubt that Kazuma did something to Darka that would lead to cutting the glass bottle there. But we already established that, haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident. I don't know about tripping over the kitten. Wait, let's just take a step back. Without falling, of course. Let's just take a step back safely. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it? I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right there in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Really? Let us show our hand, Miss Naruto. Time to present the evidence. The evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident. Okay, let me think about this. Well, there is evidence that someone intervened in this whole thing. Or we can definitely show this. It is the glass bottle over here. Meaning that, well, we are talking about an attack over here. So this could lead us to the idea that it wasn't just an accident. That somebody was attacking Kazuma right over there. So it has to be this.
Yes!
This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor. That's the glass bell that Kitten had around his neck. We already know all about that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. Oh yes, but can you really tell that the way Kazuma tripped would cut this like in half, just like that? So we do have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic? The flaw is that if he really tripped, then the glass would have been broken in multiple pieces with his foot. Not be broken in half like that. Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw. A fatal flaw. What? That's really what happened. Then how did one half of the bell end up back in here in this cabin? Yeah, that's true. Or... okay, it's not half broken, but...
Yeah. Remember that we found the other half of the glass bell in that West Pepper basket? Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no. That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asagi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there, if what Miss Pavlova told us was true.
what? So Sato-san has noticed it too then. Putting the piece of glass aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. In other words... Well, there are definitely multiple things. It kind of makes me question. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. Well, yeah. There is definitely this, because if he just fell, like, accidentally and, no, it was just that, then there's no way for Kazuma to have written that in the first place. Since there are also, like, dying messages, like, right over there, it tells us that it was more than just an accident.
Yes!
The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asagi could have left this message on the floor. And that script. It's Russian, isn't it? Yep. As far as we know, he doesn't know Russian. There is somebody else who does. Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe. I see what you mean. Most people will leave a dying message in their native language. Japanese in this case.
But maybe he was studying Russian.
Nah, I think that Ryonosuke can testify for that. That they didn't have like Russian classes or something. That they didn't know Russian.
It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast.
That doesn't seem likely. That's actually not a point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. Yeah, true. Because, again, in your last seconds of your life, before death, you wouldn't really go for that second language that you just learned. You would go for your native language to try to get your message across, like, real fast. The victim that is about to die doesn't have time to think about a second language. Sorry, what do you mean? Exactly what I said before. There is no way that Mr. Asagi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why, explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death. Oh! Which means, after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything. Because it was already dead. True. The only way the message would be there is for a third party to come in and do that message themselves. Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Asagi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. Indeed. Someone who wrote that message and took, like, half of that glass bottle with them. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth, in order to cover up their own guilt.
Yeah, there was someone else present in Mr. Asagi's...
Oh, you are wasting time. Someone else was there? Of course, we know this. What are you talking about? Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out. I won't be so sure about that. It wasn't actually locked until our culprit came in. And it was after that, after they exited, that the bolt was shut. Oh, yes. And only other person in cabin when your young student died was you.
Yes!
It's true, I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details. Yeah. I mean, I guess we could also offer them, like, the piece of evidence that we showed to Susato at the beginning of this case. Because we proved it to Susato, but the others don't know. I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message. No, you would have. There's no way you could have left that message. To be precise about the details. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, The person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor, in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been sleeping during the entire time. And then, the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor, for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Asogi really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the bell away? That is indeed a good point. Leaving help behind was always going to raise questions. Well, we can still think about Kazuma doing the damage to that bell. It's just that, well, it wasn't necessarily that our culprit actually took the evidence from it, but rather one part of that glass bell fell in the cabin, while the rest of that bell, it was still in Darka's possession. So, yeah, I guess so. Maybe? It was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. Or that... The single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light on the floor there. Little wonder then, that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item. I mean, that's also a possibility, yeah.
You all suspect me, don't you?
Seaman Stroganoff? Nina is a woman of sea. She is daughter of a strong sailor. Oh. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills and she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on the ship, a member of ship's band. I guess so. I guess that is the relation that you had to Pavlova. I was gonna talk about that like soon enough. I'm sure that this is gonna be a topic soon enough when it comes to how Pavlova came to the ship. You do not accuse Ship's Angel of being criminal. No, so that's it. He said that when young student died, Nina was there in his cabin. But that is not possible. I gave him my tooth. Well, this is almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You are a great detective. You should know. Look truth in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or you want to tell that killer can walk through locked doors? Niet! It's impossible. He's right.
But wait, I read about this in detective stories. People often tie thread around door latches so they can open and close them from the outside.
That is definitely not the case. I mean, in this, we haven't seen like any clue that would tell us that. And since there were no clues that would tell us that, then, well, that cannot be it. Fred, are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. These are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern ship. Constructed of heavy steel, with not a gap in sight. No threads or needles or magnets could have been used.
No, of course not. I thought so too. But Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so...
How can you shift it onto me like that? Come on. So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside.
Nah,
it was definitely possible. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. Yeah. I bet all my money that the cabin door was locked and nobody even touched it to begin with. Not with your fingers, not with any object, nothing. He could do it magically! And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind, having been used before. Yeah, I know what traces you're talking about. I don't believe it. Well, Miss Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? I had to shut the bolt of the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes.
Do you really know what Mr. Shawn means, Miss Naruhodo?
Yeah. You just gotta lean a little bit to the left to see the full picture. Yeah, so should you. I mean, you interacted with that piece of evidence yourself, Susato. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have. So, would you care to do the honors, Miss Naruhodo? Point out the telling signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door bolt across from the outside. Yeah. It was... Oh, I was thinking that that it would show like that it would change the color in similar fashion to the way we investigate. But either way, I'm gonna present this location right over here. And look at the bookcase there. See how all books and things on it have toppled over?
That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before.
Indeed. I was questioning how the books have toppled in our cabin in the first place. Like, what happened? Maybe our culprit searched through those to find something in the cabin? No. Could it have been that the bookcase was toppled over because of Kazuma and the culprit struggling in their fight? No, not necessarily. Same thing happened here as well. So it kind of makes you question, like, what actually happened. And I bet all my money that same thing happened in all the cabins on the ship. Like the bookcase, like the books and the statues have toppled over all over the ship in all the cabins like this. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over.
I believe... yes. It's what's known as the force of inertia acting on the objects.
Man, that book has like everything. Like, we're not talking about one book having to talk about one subject. It probably has like history, math, physics, languages, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a very convenient book. Unless Susato has like lots of books inside her sleeves. Those sleeves of hers in that kimono, they're like an infinite inventory in a video game. Similarly to the court record. That book is as timeless and infinite as the court record. Is there nothing Susato doesn't know? Or that isn't her book, at least. Well, whatever it's called, and we are questioning if Susato has actually stolen the books or not, but nonetheless, the same force that pushed over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. Indeed. It actually happened like earlier when it happened. When we were like right over here. The bolt actually shut on the door in similar fashion to the bookcase. Like it moved to the left.
Ah!
It was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. Which would conclude that our culprit did what they had to do in the first class cabin, and they could have just exited the cabin and pushed on the emergency door and pushed on the emergency alarm for the ship to stop like once again, so that the cabin would be locked after they exited the cabin. But then... Hello? Is anybody there? Shout if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like...
Inspector Hasanaga. Ah, yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door.
Yeah, it's made of metal. It's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of inertia, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Asagi was killed? This is beauty made another emergency stop? Indeed. When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had totaled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I?
And then when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Asagi's cabin. And I'm telling you, if you were to check the other cabins, same thing you're gonna see right over there. Like, if you have nothing to do, Sasato, you could just go to every cabin and arrange them.
Oh my.
Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Buria made emergency stop? It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple enough. The emergency alarm. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm?
Yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there? Telling you only to press the button in times of emergency.
On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait, it was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings, and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who...
As I will say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed. Whatever the occasion. Someone was proud of himself. Yeah. I mean, you'll be proud of yourself as well, if you were to do that. Game. I mean, you were that close to press the emergency button, like before. How dare you mess with ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. No. I'm sure all that can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learned a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin doors slide closed. So, what we must now consider.
Yeah, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Asagi, did the ship make an emergency stop? Or did it not?
I'd say that it did. You are idiots. The other is a huge ship with many passengers. If we make emergency stop, even in the middle of the night, there will be chaos everywhere. I mean, unless we are to think that everyone on the ship was a heavy sleeper during the night, if you know what I mean. What are your thoughts, Miss Naruto? Yeah, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea.
Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night? Promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night. Actually, hold on. Whistling sound. Speckled bend. Okay, well, we got that. Well, we could say that it's this? Because we do know that there was nothing to report, but that will promote the idea that there wasn't emergency there. So, I don't know. I mean, we could say that it was the emergency stop? I don't know. Like, if we are to think that Kazuma's shoes were the result of the emergency, then it kind of makes me question the timeline in that case. Like, I'm definitely thinking that it happened more than once. It actually happened twice in my eyes. But if I'm to think about this mark, that would mean that it happened 3 times, not 2 times. Could it be this? Seaman Stroganoff. It's your duty to patrol the first class area of the ship, isn't that right? Yeah, that is correct. Why? And the ship's log here, and this will be where you record the details of your duties. What are you doing with that? That is mine. Oh. You rather carelessly left it atop the little makeshift bureau in this passageway there. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always. And the point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase nothing to report every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log? That is dumb. Because nothing happened. But if nothing happened, you will normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you? Yep. Indeed so. Which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened. Here aboard the SS Beauty. Ah, okay. There's the logic that I had to question before presenting that evidence. I was kind of going on a whim on there, but the reason why we will present that evidence is to question what Stroganov was doing last night, meaning that there could be the possibility that he had something to do with the emergency button. Okay, that would be the string of logic that I was supposed to go with, I think. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact.
Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night?
Indeed. Stop talking rubbish! If I'm perfectly honest, I find it a little hard to believe myself. Oh? Why? Well, because something as major as an emergency stop really had happened. Surely all of us would have noticed. Now, There is definitely an explanation for that. It is something that you all have in common since this morning.
That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. And the ship lurched so violently, and the air bell was so loud. I can imagine that anybody would sleep through that. Even if it happened in the dead of night.
Oh no, that's a good point. Man, after all this talk, I am a little bit hungry myself. I could go for some of that chicken that Ryonosuke ate like last night. What of the frog? Sorry? What do you mean? Your head. The frogging of your head since this morning. We have all suffered with it. Yep. We seen Shoal suffer with it. We seen Hosanaga, Ryonosuke, and yeah, Susato said that. Isn't it strange that we are all having this, like, this throbbing problem with our heads in the first place? That is something to explore. Oh, yes. I've had a headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today.
Nor have I. My head has been feeling heavy ever since dawn.
Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. He's right. My head's been throbbing today too. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I don't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. And then the first thing I noticed this morning was a throbbing pain in my head. And I'd already been dragged out of the wardrobe. I had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening? Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? Tell me, Miss Naruto. You boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, well, yes, sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't really include meals. What did you survive on? Wow, Kazuma looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. Exactly. He shared his food with Ryonosuke. So he enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it. Yeah, in fact, and all that. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Which would explain why Kazuma was still awake, even like at 1/2 a.m. in the morning and all, while the rest was asleep. I could say that Kazuma was among the very few of the people on the ship that actually felt that emergency stop. Oh really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? And that's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does that not strike you?
Oh, Mr. Shums, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken?
Yep. It could very well be possible that the chicken was drugged. All of our chickens have been drugged. Like who? Oh. Wait, is that really true? The meal prepared for the passengers last night had been tampered with. Tampered with by the addition of a soporific, designed to induce a very deep slumber in those who consumed it. Yep. If you are to question like all the passengers, they're not gonna tell that they noticed like any emergency alarm. And that's because they were all drugged. They were all drugged for the sole purpose of nobody noticing the emergency stop in the dead of the night. Which means that the emergency alarm was used for a specific reason, and nobody had to notice it. A sleeping drug? Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop?
It's not her dome. Of course, that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea.
Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a specific drug would certainly be impossible. Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator. What?
Mr. Sholmes!
Well, seaman? I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this manner will get you nowhere. If you refuse to talk, there will be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew, and the captain himself, would be hauled over the coals for aiding and abetting a renegade.